Hey everyone, Dave here. I just purchased a new solar system with a Tesla battery about 6 months ago, and I'm going to share with you all the details, what it cost me, the savings, and the questions that I wish I knew prior to buying the system. And we're going to find out if it's actually worth getting a solar system in California in 2025. So the reason I started looking into adding more solar to my home is because my electricity bills started getting really high. In 2024, my yearly energy cost was about $7,400, bringing my monthly average to about $620. Plus, with the PG&E true-up bill, I would get hit with a multi-$1,000 bill, which I didn't really like. For context, I have a new home that was built in 2022, family of 4. The house is a single-story 2,700 square foot home that came with a 4 kilowatt solar system. It's a fully electric house, so there's not any gas of any kind. And we added a pool, and also in 2024, we added a Tesla Model Y. For the record, we drove our Tesla a ton in 2024. We put on about 18,000 miles, which consumed about 5,000 kilowatts of energy, which our average for 2024 was about 40 cents a kilowatt. So that means that raised our energy bill roughly about $160 per month for driving our Tesla around. Okay, let's break down the system that we purchased. We have a 12.42 kilowatt system that was made up of 27 REC solar panels, one Tesla Powerwall 3 battery for a total cost of $43,187. And with the 30% federal tax credit, it reduced the total by $12,956.10. I also got a PG&E permanent battery rebate of $5,000, bringing the total investment down to $25,230.90. I'm also applying for an additional rebate from PG&E called SGIP, which could add an additional $1,000 to $2,000 savings. The Tesla Powerwall 3 cost made up $14,000 of the total system cost, and our solar company estimated that we would get a 66% reduction in energy costs. Sometimes when it comes to rebates, you have to do your own due diligence. As originally, my solar installer company did not mention the PG&E rebates that I actually got to take advantage of until I inquired with them about them, as the qualifications do vary by customer and location. So the best rebate that I got was the permanent battery storage rebate from PG&E. I'll have a link in the video description below, as well as right up here. They have over 300 rebates available as of this video, and they even increased the rebate amount from $5,000 up to $7,500, making the rebate even better. There's also the SGIP that I'm trying to take advantage of as well, which I'll also link in the description below. I financed my system with a 15-year loan at 6.99% interest, and after the federal tax credits and rebates, it dropped my monthly payment down to about $251. I've had the system now for about 6 months, so let's take a look at how it's affected our bill. Looking at January, this year was $417 versus last year, which was $890.15, a 53% savings. Keep in mind, since our home is fully electric, our heater is a heat pump that uses a lot of electricity, and since there's not much solar production in the winter, it is a bit more expected. February was $397.83 versus $811.95, making a 51% savings. March was $318.24 versus $617.39, a 48% savings. April was $156 versus $590, a 73% savings. May was $159 versus $350, making for a 54% savings. And June was $74 versus $503 in 85% savings. The total cost of energy for 2025 year to date is $1,523.38 versus 2024 was $3,763.62 for the same time period. The difference of $2,240 or an average savings of $373 per month, or roughly 60%. So the annual savings for this year is estimated to be $4,476. So let's talk about ROI. If my annual savings is $4,476 and I divide that by the total out-of-pocket cost of the solar system, which will give a total payback period of roughly 5.6 years, assuming that the PG&E rates don't increase, which historically they've been increasing about 10% year over year the last 5 to 10 years. So it could be a sooner payback if that trend continues. However, since I didn't pay for the system in cash up front and I financed it, my monthly payment is $250. So if you divide the savings or subtract the savings from the monthly payment, that'll give an approximate savings of $123 per month, or about a 20% on the monthly cost of electricity if I want to ride it out for the full 15 years. And then after the 15 years, you can get up to that 60% savings after the 15-year mark. What I decided to do instead is make a monthly payment of $400 a month, which is about the savings that I'm getting from the solar system. So from a cash flow perspective, it's close to a wash. But what that does is it pays off the loan faster and reduces the interest, and it's going to give a full payback period of the loan in about 7 years with the system, depending upon the rates of the electricity and how it goes over time. One thing I like about having the Tesla Powerwall 3 is that you have it connected to the Tesla app, which gives you insight to all of your production and everything that's going on with your solar system and energy production. Now, for example, in May, I used a total of 1,482.30 kilowatts. 65% of that production came from solar, 20% came from the Powerwall, and 15% was pulled from the grid. Pulling energy from the grid is what caused the bill to increase on a monthly basis. The more you pull from the grid, the more you pay from PG&E. With the Powerwall, and because we have a time of use rate plan with PG&E, what the battery is able to do is store the energy that the solar system produces, store it up, and be able to use it once it starts to get less solar power in the evening to avoid those peak rates that are higher. So if you look at our average cost per kilowatt in 2024, average 40 cents per kilowatt. Now, so far in 2025, we're averaging 31 cents. A part of that is because we're doing the rate shaving, is what they call it, with the Powerwall, storing the energy that you produce during the day to avoid the high cost peak times that are 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. so that the Powerwall is able to cover our electricity costs during those hours, ultimately reducing your cost per kilowatt. In addition, the solar system is generating solar credits to reduce the bill further. Another cool feature with the Tesla app is there's this feature called Charge on Solar. And what that does is it can charge your car 100% on the solar system by itself. So in theory, you could have a $0 cost to charging your car with your solar system. But however, just the practicality of daily living and the need for electricity, we have it set to charge from the grid or solar up to 60%, then from 60% to 80%, it's all charge on solar. And looking at the data on the app, we actually have recharged the car about 50% from the grid, which equates to about $75 per month. So I bet we could do a little bit better as far as charging the car more on solar. So is the Powerwall 3 necessary? Well, let's take a look at the data. So year to date, the Powerwall has generated 15% of the energy usage that we've used in our home, which equals about 1,500 kilowatts. And since the Powerwall is trying to optimize when it's using its electricity at the highest peak times, can be upwards of 50 cents per kilowatt during those peak hours of savings. And so the math for year to date so far of 1,500 kilowatts times 50 cents can equal up to $750 savings so far this year, which gives you about $1,500 savings for the entire year estimated. And that is almost 50% of the total solar system savings. Since the Powerwall cost about $14,000, and after the federal tax credit and also the PG&E battery rebate will bring a net cost of $4,800, which is going to give a return on investment in about 3 years, which is great. And the lifespan of a Tesla Powerwall, from what I read, is about 10 to 15 years. So you still have another 7 to 12 years of life left after the unit's paid off. Now, looking at the PG&E website about my usage for the last 12 months, you'll notice the blue bars is how much energy that I used from PG&E. And you'll notice that towards the beginning of 2025, you'll see the green bars. That shows the new solar billing plan. And this is a change PG&E made to new solar customers about a year or so ago, that I was previously on what they call NEM 2.0, which is definitely better than the new solar billing plan, but let me explain. So here's how it works with the old solar plan called NEM 2.0. What happens when you generate 100 kilowatts of solar, send it to the grid, and also take 100 kilowatts from the grid and use it to power your house? So on the NEM 2.0 plan, those would basically be a wash. You would owe $0 for electricity, except for the minimum service charge that PG&E requires you to connect, like $15 a month. Now on the new solar billing plan, here's how it works. You'll pay your 30 or 40 cents per kilowatt that you import. So 100, that'd be like $30 or $40. Then you produce 100 kilowatts of solar and send it to the grid. They're only gonna pay you about 10 cents per kilowatt. So that's gonna reduce your energy bill by about 33%, or roughly $10 to $12 depending upon when you're consuming and using electricity. When you add more solar to your house, you cannot stay on your old solar plan, unfortunately. So you're forced into this new solar billing plan, which is a bit unfortunate. But the main goal here is to try to get it so that you produce everything that you use, don't pull anything from the grid, and don't send anything to the grid. So you want to try to produce everything that you can and use it all. So now let's discuss it. Is going solar worth it in 2025? Well, for me, in my scenario, I was getting up to about $700 per month in electricity cost. And from a cash flow perspective, if I would have just left the 15-year loan and paid the minimum payment of $250, I would save roughly 20% on my monthly expenses, and which would also protect me from rising PG&E costs. But I decided to opt and put all my savings towards the payment in order to pay off that system. But instead of just paying PG&E for delivering electricity, I'm actually paying that same $400 to an asset that is going to, in 7 years, give me a 60% discount, or $5,000 per year of savings. Over the course of an extra 10 to 15 years is going to give me $50,000 to $75,000 and protect me against the rising costs of PG&E expense. One other concern I had prior to purchasing the system was in the event I moved away before I realized my ROI. So if I moved within 5 years, would I just be at a total loss? Well, after thinking about that, there's estimates that say adding a whole solar system like this will bring about $40,000 of value to your home. So you can sell your house for about $40,000 more with a system of this size. But even if not, I'm very confident that I'll at least be able to get my initial $25,000 investment from an increased price home because of the value that it brings to the home in reducing that bill significantly. Well, that's all I got for you on this video. I decided to make this video just for fun, share my experience with my solar system to see if it will help anybody that is curious about solar and had some of those questions like I did. I made this YouTube channel to just share my experience with tech, with solar, DIY projects. So make sure you hit that subscribe if you want to see other cool tips and experiences. And if you have any questions about the solar system, drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to reply back or make more content around what you want to learn or know about the solar system or any questions you have. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.